I love TED. I've watched hundreds and hundreds of these TED videos. And I'm sorry to do this very un-TED-like thing by carrying notes, but we've reached the point in the evening where everything has been said, but not everybody has said it. So I've been scrambling since I arrived and madly rewriting as people kept giving my speech. Forgive the notes. I'm going to start with a graph. It's a very simple graph, so I won't even use the screen. This represents weight. This represents longevity. Now imagine a turkey. There's the beginning. I'm doing this from your direction. There's the beginning of the turkey's life. And a week later, he weighs a little bit more. And a week later, he weighs a little bit more. And a week later, he weighs a little bit more. And the turkey's weight and longevity is just grooving along at this 45-degree angle. And about 18 pounds in, he looks around. He says, this looks good. I'm going to project out another 10 months. And I'm going to weigh 36 pounds. And I don't see any other 36-pound turkeys. And that's going to be really good for me. And then around November 18th, here are other things we might graph. The typewriter, beginning in 1810. Just fantastic curve, not even a lot of curving in it. Just bang, 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 bang. IBM Selectric 2, for those of you who are old enough to remember them, one of the greatest machines ever invented. Gobble, gobble, gobble. Mitt Romney's inevitable ascension. Now, Thanksgiving's not a surprise to the farmer. So the title of my talk is, Don't Be the Turkey. I came across the turkey analogy, which was originally the chicken analogy, through the work of a guy named Nassim Nicholas Taleb, T-A-L-E-B. I'm sure he's done TED Talks. I can't recommend him enough. He never mentioned show business in his books, but it's the best writing on show business I've ever read. And he writes about the fallacy of prediction, which Kara, did I say your name right? Kara was talking about earlier today. Sorry. And it's based on the problem of inductive reasoning, which of course goes back to the very, very beginning. I'm going to be less funny, because that was about 20 seconds of laughs, and I'm right up against it already. Inductive reasoning goes like this. You see a white swan, you see another white swan, you see another white swan. The idea occurs to you, all swans are white. You see thousands of white swans, you see great, jolly shitloads of white swans, and you feel very, very confident that all swans are white. This problem goes back to Hume, the English philosopher. Then in the 19th century, somebody saw a black swan. And the phrase, all swans are white, suddenly was meaningless. We're not in the swan business. We don't care. You produce a show with movie stars. It does well. You produce another show with movie stars. It does well. You produce another show with movie stars, and like the person who concludes that all swans are white, you conclude that movie stars cause shows to do well. But this statement is no more true than all swans are white, because we have so many examples of it not being true. My point about 2032 is, as we move ahead in a very difficult time, let's remember to reason from fact. Let's build on facts. Of course, we want to build on hope. We're in hope business. We're in the idea factory, as Damien said in his magnificent speech. But that's the deal. OK, I want to talk about defining your business. And the whole notion of defining your business I got from another guy named Jeff Jarvis, who wrote a terrific book called What Would Google Do, and who teaches here in New York City. And defining your business would seem to be easy. We're in the theater business. But tell that to the New York Times. Because 20 years ago, they would have defined their business very differently than they define it today. Tell it to Kodak, a company which started, I think, in 1890 and grew so well that by 1976, I looked this up over the weekend, 90% of the film and 85% of the cameras in America were sold by Kodak. That's an astonishing number. And then, of course, 10 years ago, Gobble, 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 gobble. What business are we in? That's a real question. That's a question worth wrestling with, and we've heard a lot of good ideas about that today. The funny thing about Kodak was that their customers were really, 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 really satisfied. Nobody was saying, I like this brownie, but do you have anything in a digital camera? And this question of customer satisfaction and why it holds us back is addressed by a guy named Clayton Christensen in a brilliant book called The Innovators Dilemma, which I became aware of because I know that was very a big effect on Steve Jobs. And he talks about what happens when very good companies go very wrong very, very quickly. And by disruptive technology, he means an electric car, which is disruptive not only to the big three, but to the oil industry or downloading music if you're in the CD business. And for us, we know how disruptive, how easy it is to disrupt the storytelling technique, which for thousands of years was oral, and then for thousands of years was papyrus scrolls, and then books had a really, really nice 600 years, and now it's movies and everything else. So how do we deal with disruptive technologies? This is Clayton Christensen. Well, first we accept that we're really, really good at the sustaining technology. This is B-School 101 stuff, right? This is you make the product better, you find efficiencies, you keep expanding the audience base, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But it's very hard to jump into the disruptive technology if you're great at the sustaining technology. Harley-Davidson owned motorcycles. They saw the dirt bike. They said to their dealers, maybe we should get into this dirt bike business. The dealers said, I don't want to take up any space in the showroom because we're in the Harley business. My customers don't want these dinky little bikes. So they didn't do it. They did okay. 2009, their brand was off 43% because the economy kicks in. So how screwed are we faced with this massive, surrounded by this disruptive technology? Well, not so much. We have to remember we're good. We got sales online. We built a TKTS booth. We got wine in sippy cups. You know, we're okay. But we have to remember that the thing that makes us good is the thing that makes us not good. So here's still more Christensen. We have to remember that advances in technology may get ahead of what the audience demands. Subscribers are happy. They're not looking for a new way to access tickets. Innovation demands very careful resource allocation. Everybody in this room knows that if you had an extra $100,000 to spend on a marketing campaign, the temptation is enormous to send it to confirmed Broadway buyers, not to give it to Damien and let him see what he can do with the money. 3, don't expect in your disruptive technology, assuming you're this great manager, the same profit margins or the same volume with your disruptive technology. It has the potential to eat your business, but it's not going to eat your business for a long time. 4, set up a skunk works. Get your disruptive technology people off somewhere. Jobs did this when he was working with the mouse and the graphic user interface. He put them in a private building, not just so the secret wouldn't get out, but so they could be on their own. And when they're on their own, they have the chance to become very, very excited about small things that wouldn't necessarily excite your main management, right? When your marketing guys come back and say, we sold 63,000 tickets. You go, well, so what? I mean, it's nice, but it doesn't change the world. 6,300 tickets. But they're excited, and you want them to be excited because they're on the beginning of something. And above all, don't try to make a disruptive technology. And by technology, I mean not just the product. I mean the way in which we connect with all these young audiences that we've been hearing about today. It's not a problem of your sustaining technology. It is, says Christensen, who has spent decades studying these companies, it's a marketing problem. When you have a disruptive technology, go find the new audience. And finally, just tinker, 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 fail, 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 and protect yourself against failure. Accept failure. Many of the greatest things in the world were mistakes. The chocolate chip cookie, penicillin, Viagra, all kinds of things. They were just mistakes, the Post-it note, mistakes. I'm sure many of it, I know that I sat here today And sometimes I thought, that's dopey, man. That's never going to work. That's just dopey. But we're at a time right now where this tinkering is really important. And when people do something where a first reaction might be, particularly geezers like me, the first reaction might be, that's dopey. We don't have the luxury of having a generation to find what's new. We need to commit ourselves to tinkering and to failure. We need to celebrate these failures, encourage these failures, because like scientists in the lab who go every day and fail, yep, another day I didn't cure this disease. But it was another day I spent investigating. It was another day I spent doing an experiment that didn't work. But that's knowledge and that's progress. And because Zuckerberg and Sergey Brin and those guys have accelerated the rate of change so much, I think we need to commit ourselves very strongly to encouraging people, especially young people, to try things and don't get on their case when they fail. Learn from the failure. Now, there's one thing that scares me, and that is that our brains are being rewired. They just are. And I don't know about you, I can't read for 2 hours anymore. I can't finish a script in one sitting anymore. That terrifies me. And I know now, by reading Nicholas Carr and other people, this is because there's actually a new neural pattern under my bald head. And the neural pattern allows me to multitask and look at a computer screen with hundreds of options. Click on that link, open that video, do this, sort that, Google this phrase, do all of that. But that electricity has literally moved to a point in my brain where I can't engage deeply in a book or in a, that's right, 2-hour play. A play I can do because it's an old habit. But it's not just baby boomers or Gen Xers who do this. We're about to have a generation of kids who, if you saw the Apple textbook announcement last night, will not be reading in the sense that we think of reading, because these new Apple textbooks are multimedia things. So the ability to go off and boom, 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 boom. And I'm not against an audience sitting there interacting and clicking like crazy, but it's different. And I do know this. I know that you can, but it's useless to Google loyalty. It's useless to Google friendship. You can't meaningfully Google evil, and you can't Google a broken heart. Those are the things that we need Shakespeare for. And we need Tolstoy for, and Tony Kushner, and a whole group of artists who can help us understand on a daily basis the most important things in our lives. Love, friendship, loyalty, evil, betrayal. You can't Google the phrase, "Why did my friend betray me?" You can only read a great artist or experience a great artist to know that. Okay, I've got 1 minute. I'm going to make some predictions. Broadway's always been a business. That business overlapped for about 30 years with some of the greatest artists in the English language. It may overlap again with the greatest artists in the English language. I don't care. I agree that the only thing that we can say for sure is that Broadway is the name of a street, but I think whatever's happening in those beautiful landmark buildings in 2032 is going to be a complete gas. And I look forward to hobbling in on my walker and seeing what the younger people in this audience today and spread out all over the world are going to do. Obviously, the person on your left is going to be from China, and the person on your right is going to be from Brazil, and that will have to do with something. I think serious work is going to be playing in smaller spaces, and I think that's fine, because I think that's going to be a return to the way it was for thousands of years. Serious work tended to play for smaller audiences. I got no problem with that. Culturals, it's simple. Sorry, I'm going to go over 10 seconds. Culturals are addicted to subscription. This is November 17th for the subscription system. You cannot assume that, as they have for scores of years, that adults at a certain age will come and be subscribers. So I think that the culturals, the big ones, the tiny ones are doing fine. Really have to take a hard look in the mirror and look to the future. Go read The Innovators Dilemma. Make some tough decisions. Thanks.